What up, what up? This is Finance, Fitness, and Folk, a channel where we discuss finance, a little bit of fitness, and talk about some folk. So in today's episode, I'm going to explain why time is more valuable than money. So once again, thank you to all my subscribers. If you like this content, like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely comment, because I definitely like this. Read your comments and respond to them, because it's all about bettering each other, right? So if you comment, I respond to it, and then we learn from each other. So let's get into it. So why time is more valuable than money? Well, it's more valuable than money because you can't get it back. That's just the bottom line, the skinny on it. Time is what we as human beings take for granted more than money. Say, for instance, that you're a workaholic, and you work 12-hour days, 14-hour days, 16-hour days. I've seen that. I worked there before myself, but of course, I was in a austere environment. A lot of times I was overseas, deployed when these things happen. So I was going to be separated from my family anyway. So it really didn't matter how long I worked. But when I came back to the States and I actually started working, stateside, I always tried to make sure that I spent as much time with my family as possible. But getting back to the subject, so these folks that work, all these hours, and they're working for money, they're working for promotion, they're working for accolades and all these other things. And at the end of the day, is it really worth it? Especially if you have a family, because like I said, time, you can get it back. Once it's gone, it's gone. There's a reason why, if you have a job, your sick leave and your PTO, your paid time off, is very valuable and definitely important to a lot of folks. Like I said, if you're single, I would say this still applies to you as well, because there's a lot more productive things you can do outside of working all the time. It's time is more valuable than money, y'all. Because think about it: if you have more time, guess what? You'll make more money. That sounds like an oxymoron, but it's true. So in this day and age, at the time of this recording, it's April of 2023, and 2013. That's actually a year I'm gonna talk about here in a minute. It's 2023, and we're like on the back end of the COVID pandemic, and a lot of folks didn't go back to work, or they're doing some type of remote job where it's fully remote, or they're doing hybrid, meaning that they go in the office for a couple of days and they stay home for a couple of days and still do work. And what employers have learned is people were burnt out before the pandemic. Folks were like having nervous breakdowns and all these other things because they was working too hard. There's a lot of folks that they move up the corporate ladder by working more hours because it shows their employer that they're dedicated to their position. They're dedicated to better the company, and they're just out there like really trying to better the company. And you have to really ask yourself: is it really worth building something for somebody else? Because that's what you're really doing. If you're working for a company, guess what? There's a person that started that company. Companies don't start themselves. This is not the robot age that might be for 100 years or whatever. But people start companies, not objects. So somebody had an idea, and they put it into action. They had funding, or they got funding, and they created this business. So all the way down to the janitor. And I'm not saying anything bad about janitors. Everybody has a job. Everybody's job is important, because we're all a cogwheel in this economy. So when things fall off and people stop working, it affects everybody. Somebody got to clean, somebody got to do laundry. Somebody has to cut grass. That's just the nature of the beast. So and by no means am I downgrading anybody's job or position. I respect everybody's position. I'm just giving this as an example of how important you are to a company. Like I said, all the way down to the janitor. These folks are working for somebody. They're working for somebody that created an idea. They put it into action, and they had funding for it, and they made the action happen. They made the dream happen. So you got to ask yourself: is it worth working 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, sometimes 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, to work for somebody else's kingdom? Now, I'm not saying that, that working for somebody is a bad thing. I'm not saying that, because there's a lot of folks that actually have jobs that work for somebody that are making a lot of money, they're making a good living. I'm one of them, I will say that I do not work a lot of hours. At this current time, I'm in a job where it's not authorized overtime. But that's another story within itself, and it's just the way the contract was written. But the job paid well, so it was one of those things like, I had to, really think about it, like, okay, I can't do overtime, but they're paying me a good amount of money here, so is it really worth not taking a job because I can't do overtime? It just didn't make sense. They were compensating me enough to where the overtime didn't really matter, And actually, if you really think about it, it's better for me, because that means that at no time will I ever work over my time. So that means that, if that company wants me to work, 10 hours a day, I got to say, hey, well, guess what? Because I do have flex hours. So what I can say is like, okay, yeah, I can work 10 hours a day today, but guess what? Tomorrow's Friday, and I've already worked a couple hours more than what I supposed to have during the day. So guess what? I'm only authorized 40 hours to work this week. So that means I only got 3 hours. I will only have 3 hours left on Friday if you make me work 10 today. So that's up to you, But like I said, I mean, that's better for me, because that prevents me from working overtime. It prevents me from being away from my family, which I don't want, right? Because like I said, time is more valuable than money. And my time is, it's just one of those things that, like, I mean, when you really have time pass you by, it's noticeable. And it's one of those things like people have a lot of regret when they lose time or they waste time, right? So 2013, I was gonna get to that. So from 2006 to 2013, roughly about 7 years, I was in and out of the house, meaning that I was deployed here, I was doing some training here, I was overseas there. So off and off about actually it was 7 years, right? But then when I made the calculation and I really put together like all the time that I had been away from my family during the 20 years I was in the military, it added to 7 years. So 7 out of 20, I was in a situation where I was away from my family, whether it be my mom, brother, stuff like that. By the time I had retired, I was married for 14 years. And those 7 years that I was gone, within those 14 years of my marriage. So think about it. For 7 whole years, I was not living physically in my house with my wife and kids. Think about that now. 7 out of 14 years, from 2006 to 2013. So I lost a lot of time, and the thing is, being a soldier, I knew that this was going to happen, I didn't know it was going to happen to this extent. I try to mitigate things as much as possible. And, thank God for my wife. I mean, she is one of the most understanding women that I know. And since I've retired now, she's like, you better not go anywhere. So I'm not. I'm staying at home, y'all. But, that's a long time to be away from your family. I can't get that time back. I missed birthdays. I missed both of my sons' births, right? I was overseas both times they were born. I was there for the pregnancy, obviously, but I missed the births, right? So that time is gone. I can't get that time back, right? So I have to try to make the time up, but when you try to make time up, it's not the same. It just isn't. Getting to a situation to where we're talking about finance, right? As far as being able to say again.
Did you want some humor? I wanted to say hi, photobombing.
Oh,
I just couldn't resist.
No,
I'm trying to keep her up.
it's fine. All right, you too. So I don't do edits, right? I don't do edits at all. So that was wow. So that was interesting. So I put my hand on the camera. I'm sitting here like, who was coming up behind me? Wow, it's crazy. But anyways, what was I? Yeah. So my goodness, she kind of threw me off track here a little bit, so it's okay. You know what I'm saying? That was good humor. You know, this is the reason why I love living where I live at. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are very nice around here. They're very nice, and I definitely appreciate that. That was some humor. But going back to time, you know, I like I said, I don't have a way to get that time back, and once the time is gone, it's gone. When you have moments in life to where like you're doing something, you got to really think that, you know, this time is never coming back ever again. You know, I had took a trip to Greece a while back with my wife, and I was sitting there in Santorini, looking over a cliff at one of the hotels we was at, and I was sitting here like, my God, like more, it's a very good chance that I'm never going to be here ever again. It's probably the only time I may come to Greece. I'm not saying that's going to happen, you know what I'm saying? I do want to go back, but I'm saying, but let's just say I don't go back, right? The time that I was there, when I'm looking over the cliff and I'm looking at the ocean, and this is breathtaking, and I'm like, this time is never going to come back again. It just isn't. You know, going back to time when it comes to finance, because I want to make sure that I don't bore you guys, right? So when it comes to finance, it's you know, the time that you have to do things for yourself, especially when it comes to doing hybrid work, doing remote work. Guess what? I'm not saying that you're going to take away from the time that you would have to work your particular job, but what I will say is that you have a lot of time to work. Like, you know, if you got flex hours and you go to work, let's say 6 in the morning, you do 8 hours, that's 2 o'clock. That means that you have all this time left in the day to run errands, to start your own business, right? Because this is a channel called Finance, Fitness, and Folk. You know, a channel where we discuss finance, a little bit of fitness, and talk about some folk. So what I mean by that is that, you know, we have to put those three things together. We need to start opening businesses, but you can't do that if you don't have the time to do it. So the moral of this story is that make sure that when you have time, you make some use of your time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Value your time, and put your time in to actually better yourselves and to make money, make more money. You know, like I said, I mean, there's a lot of people that make a lot of money when it comes to working a 9 to 5 or maybe a 10 to 4 job. But at the end of the day, those jobs can't scale to the point of a business can scale, right? So so value your time, don't waste your time, put your time to good use, and just understand that whatever time you use is gone. You know, it's like putting gas in a car. You know, once that gas runs out, it's gone, and you can put gas back in the car, but you can't you can't take the wear and tear off of that car. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just gonna be there, and it's not gonna, you can't get it back. You know, you can't get that time back. So anyways, like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, thank you to all my subscribers. That photo bomb was definitely crazy. So I don't know. I think I might have to use that as a thumbnail of one of these videos. All right. Anyways, y'all be safe, be blessed. Finance, Fitness, and Folk. Triple F, I'm gone.